Welcome to the channel. My name is Carter. This is Edge Mindset. We talk about knives here. That's what we are into. We are into knives. We live it. We breathe it. It's all we care about. No, just kidding. That's not true. Hopefully you guys have a nice life outside of this. You've got friends and families and hobbies and career aspirations and all those things. But when we're here, we talk knives, baby. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Really appreciate it. Pop down into the comments. Leave your opinion, your ideas. I respond to everything that I can. I read every single comment. I love talking to you guys. We're diving into the Kunwu Primo. I really like this knife. There's a lot of good about this thing. There's a couple things that maybe you won't like about it, but we're going to get into it. But first, let's get into those specs, baby. I know that's what you guys love. More than anything, you like to have me tell you stuff that you can read on your own about this knife. I'm just kidding. It's always fun to have somebody talk through something rather than have to look it up. And sometimes those specs are incorrect and or they're just calculated differently than you like to see them calculated. So let's get that out of the way. Blade length, we're looking at about 3.5 inches with a 3-inch cutting length on that blade there. Overall length, almost 8 inches. Like 7 7/8. I mean, it's like really, really close to 8 inches. If you actually hold it down like here, like this, it's really almost, anyways, 7 7/8. So good size overall. In my opinion, it's a large knife, but it's not overly cumbersome. As we move into the weight category, things get a little hairier. 5.5 ounces, actually not as bad as I was thinking, but it is not a lightweight by any means. Let's do some comparisons, shall we? We're going to do, of all the knives I have to compare to this one, this is the only one that actually makes sense. The rest are just for fun, because I have them around and I want to show them off. So this is a Paramilitary 2. If you go pivot to pivot, you can see the size there, very, very similar. So if you're comfortable with like the length and even the handle profile, I think you're going to like the Primo. Now, when you're looking at width, it's actually about the same. This one might seem a little thinner because it's contoured a little bit more, but both of these knives are fairly thick and fill out your hand quite well. Blade stock there, you can see the Paramilitary 2 is actually thicker in the blade stock, but because it has this extreme distal taper and then it's full flat ground, like it just skinnies up to the tip there, whereas this guy doesn't do that at all. It has no distal taper. I mean, I don't know. I guess with the way the grind is, you technically maybe to the tip, because from here to the tip, it does get thinner, but it also moves that. Anyways, you know what I mean. This whole part here is all consistent in terms of blade thickness. So yeah, next up we've got Pterosaur from Max Ace. I know that's, people were commenting right there. They're like, Paramilitary 2, who cares? I want to see what it looks like compared to the Max Ace Pterosaur, because this is the most popular knife right now. Everybody's carrying and using this thing. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Not at all. I think it's cool though. I have tried to sell it a few times and nobody wants to buy it. So it is a permanent staple in my collection now. I do actually like it though. It looks really, really cool. It's got a lot of cool design stuff going on. Carries fairly well. Not a very good slicer, but you know, whatever. It's Max Ace. I think it's cool, and that's all that really matters. Let's do a Chub. How does it compare to my Chub? There it is right next to my Chub. It's about the size, I mean, I was going to say the size of the handle, but the Chub handle is a lot smaller. Almost opened, it's the size of the handle. Well, not quite. Anyways, we'll scratch that statement. It doesn't make sense no matter how you slice it. No pun intended. Here it is next to a 229 Redención, old one that I've modified a bunch and used a bunch. Overall length, you can see it's quite similar-ish. This one is going to be quite a bit wider though. Actually, let's do a comparison in terms of how wide it is. So that's the big elephant in the room. Look how far this blade sticks out. This is what turns people off on this knife for the most part. They like it when it's opened and they're like, cool, I want to get that. And then they see when it's closed and they realize that this is going to be a pocket hog. And it absolutely is a pocket hog. That's probably the number one thing I would say that is negative with this knife. It's just how bulky it is in the closed position. But if you can get past that, This thing is pretty damn awesome. Let's talk about the blade. Well, let's talk about deployment. So you can do front flipper. Let's see. I can never do. Really suck at the reach around. You know what I'm saying? There we go. There's one right there. Let's see if I can do the index. Barely. Barely got the index. We'll take it though. I'll add it to my successful index open catalog that I'm maintaining. Vancron steel, which is a pretty wild steel. I don't know. I like it because it's high carbon. See, I was able to get this nice forced patina on here because I like patinas. When I bought this thing in my unboxing, just from handling it, it started to darken underneath the holes here, just from pressing my thumb on it. And then using it, I got some weird stain spots all over it. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to bite the bullet and go all in. And I wrapped it in some vinegar. So take a paper towel, took the blade out, took a paper towel, soaked it in vinegar, wrapped it around the blade, left it. I was honestly only expecting it to darken it up a little, and it went pretty wild. And I love the way it looks. But the Vancron steel is weird. Like, its big claim to fame, and I don't fully understand it, but its big thing is that it somehow creates its own surface barrier on it or something. Like, it's used in applications where you don't want stick, right? So similar to how raw titanium will stick, you get that lock stick. And that's because titanium's softer than the steel, and the titanium will it'll gall and adhere to it. And then when you move that titanium off, it actually shears a little bit of that titanium off. And this steel somehow creates a surface level coating, that's what they keep calling it. It creates its own coating that prevents that galling in that stick. What I don't know is, out of the box, this blade came acid wash and stonewashed. And so I don't know if that removed this natural coating or if that natural coating just happens when exposed to air. I don't know. That's the only thing I can really find about Vancron that makes it particularly special outside of other tool steels. For all intents and purposes, it's like a tool steel, PD1 and things like that. High carbon, not very corrosion resistant, as you can see with how it patinaed, but holds an edge really good, gets really sharp, pretty tough, that kind of stuff. I think it's cool. I think it's a little different. It has a really cool name. And if it performs as good as other tool steels I've used, which it sounds like it should, then it's a great steel for a knife other than the corrosion problem. If you live next to the ocean or somewhere wet, I hope you don't live somewhere wet, but if you're in a wet zone, not the knife for you. You want something, get some Magna Cut or something that'll be really corrosion resistant. All right, enough about the blade. No, not enough about the blade. We have a nice high flat grind right here. So even though it's a thick stock and it's very much like a bruiser style, it's actually pretty thin behind the edge. Not delicate, but thin. This thing slices really, really nice. And Kunwu, man, their sharpening team is out of sight because every Kunwu I've ever had has been deadly sharp right out of the box. No need to strop, no need to touch up. This thing is a laser. Crazy how sharp they're able to make their knives. Speaking of performance, nice general duty knife. You can see how, for the most part, it just stays nice and flat for cutting through surfaces. It's not a recurve or anything, so you can get material sliding off, and it's, you can use this tip right here, pinch grip, get your finger up there, use that tip if you want to use it, which is reasonably thick right there, but I wouldn't do any twisting or any prying with this thing because you will take that tip right off of that. Big choil, nice big choil. If you're a fan of those, you're going to love this. You've got some jimping right here. I kind of wish it was continued further up the spine, just run it all the way up here so that if you're using this choil, you've still got some of that jimping. Jimping is really only good if you're back here. Opening hole works well. Just get your thumb kind of more up in that corner right there as I mess it up, and you are good to go. If you try to put it in the middle, it works, but it feels a little awkward. So I've put it right up in that corner there. Fires nice and hard. You've got contouring and chamfering and everything all around on this bad dog. Already mentioned the front flipper, so we're done there. Got the pivot collar with the Damascus or Mokutai surround. Now let's get onto these scales here. So these are contoured, as you can see right there, and they've got this crazy texture on there. It is very much like sandpaper. These are very sharp edges, right? This is not smooth. So if you don't like aggressive texture on your knives, you are not going to like this. In fact, the person that sold me this knife, that's one of the reasons he didn't like it, was how aggressive the texture of this thing was. I think it's amazing. I think it's the best thing ever. I like a strong, aggressive texture. It will rip up your jeans though, so be cautious of that. They didn't put a flat spot or anything under there. Got a nice milled titanium pocket clip. I've always liked Kunwu's pocket clips. Good shape. It's not in the way. Functions well. It's contoured, like it looks premium. It's a very nice pocket clip. It's not the deepest carry, but I'm not a big deep carry fanatic type person. Lock bar insert there. We've got hardware that matches the finish, which is nice. It's not black. It's not silver. It just fits right in. Really good lockup. Lock bar insert. We've got chamfering on the inside here on both sides, which is very, very nice. Easy to get in there and unlock this guy. Feels so nice. The action, super smooth. Drop shouty. Drop shutty. No blade play, no lock slip, nothing, just executed very, very well. Ergonomics on this thing are out of sight. One of the more comfortable knives I've handled in a long time, way more comfortable than the Gringo, which I've gotten recently. I've got to do a full review on that one still, but I want to spend a little more time with it. In terms of ergonomics, this thing is one of the better ones I've handled recently. It just has a really good shape, and with the contouring, melts right in your hands. You can flip this pocket clip around. This exact clip just switches right over. It also came with a wire clip if you want that. And in fact, you could run the wire clip on this side and the titanium one on this side. You know, if that's what you're into, you can go for it. Some people pointed out how this looks like the Green Lantern logo. It is similar. I never noticed that. It is similar to the Green Lantern logo. Not quite the exact same, but quite similar. You know, honestly, I can't say too much negative about it. In recap, I think this is just a knockout knife. Like I said, the only thing might be the blade. So you might want to go with the DLC version just because of corrosion capability, if that's something you're exposed to. Otherwise, you know, let it patina, baby. Super nice. It's a little bulky in the closed position. It just is what it is. You know, it's what happens when you take this handle shape and this wide of a blade and put them together. You're going to get this, and that's just something that either you hate or you're willing to live with. Oh yeah, look at the back spacer, nice and clean, all the work done so well. The only other thing I can kind of nitpick, which isn't really a nitpick, I don't prefer it when the blade stop is flat like this on the tang. You can see where it's interacting with the stop pin right there. I like mine to be shouldered like that so that the tang actually wraps around that pin. You just get more contact point. You know, I have hard opened this thing as much as I can, and I have not had this lock bar move in. And if that sounds confusing, the reason for that is the further back this blade seats, the more this lock bar is going to move in. And so sometimes with this style, you eventually will kind of wear in a little divot, which allows this blade to sit back a fraction of a millimeter, but that will still allow this lock bar to scoot in a little bit more, which is why I prefer it to be shouldered. Now, this blade steel, Kunwu does such an amazing heat treat on their steel. It's probably really, really hard. I don't have the exact HRC, but I know they're going to be running it really hard on this tool steel. And so there's probably very minimal chance of this deforming at all and actually allowing that blade to scoot back. But it's just one of those things. I wish they would have just ran a little shoulder right there, even just a small one. I don't know, but that's just me. Probably doesn't matter to you. Check it out. This is the Kunwu Primo. I think it's awesome. I think it's really cool. It comes in a bunch of different flavors. Comment down below. What do you think of this bad boy? Would you ever pick something like this up? I want to know about it. Catch you guys later.